So I will be talking on framing your AI and data solution for Africa. I believe almost everybody here are students of the digital healthcare space, and we've been learning one or two skills in the AI sector as it applies to healthcare. And today, we are going to be looking at why it is very important for you to frame whatever concept that you have, be it AI or non-AI solution for Africa and specifically for healthcare. And we're going to also give a couple of persons the possibility of pitching what their ideas are at the end of this short talk. I'm actually going to move very fast based on the time availability on my hands. I hope that's okay by everybody. Okay, so the topic, like I made mention, is framing your AI and data solution for Africa. And we are going to be talking on these various sessions. We are going to talk about how you can equip uh, uh, yourself with practical step-by-step framework and also transform your idea into a well-defined, viable digital health solution, and also focus on African healthcare realities, the constraints and the opportunities, and also prepare you confidently for learning showcase final project. I believe that you've been well informed of the learning showcase project that you will be asked to present later on at the end of your training session. So let's get started. One of the things that a lot of people, especially young entrepreneurial Africans who are poised to create solutions for Africa, be it healthcare or non-healthcare solution, is the problem or the challenge of figuring out what solution that they are going to be churning out to solve a problem. For every solution out there, they actually solve a particular problem. Take, for instance, I love to use the fintech a lot and how the fintech world has changed, especially in Africa. We knew in the early 2000s how difficult it was for people to get access to their monies that were in the bank. But today, with the help of mobile money, with the help of mobile apps, with the help of non-internet USSD code, we can actually carry out banking infrastructure. So people who were unbanked years ago, today are now banked. So the problem was, how do we make sure that everybody who is unbanked becomes banked? And the solution came in diverse forms. It came in the form of point of sale machine, POS machine. It came in the form of ATM cards. It came in the form of mobile apps, mobile money transfer. It came in the form of USSD codes as well for people in the very remote areas where internet has not gotten to. So these are solutions that came out as a result of the problems. Okay. And if you look at the various solutions that came up, each one of them were built on different levels of technological infrastructure. For those that were built on mobile app, it required people or users to already have a mobile app that were internet accessible or that could access the internet. Now, for those in the rural areas, a different technological infrastructure was used to run access to financial for financial inclusion for those people. Take, for instance, the USSD code. people without access to smartphone can also carry out financial transaction without needing internet. Okay, so what I'm trying to help us understand here is everything or the solution that you're going to be building might not necessarily be a sophisticated technology based, but make sure that whatever you are building has a ready to use solution that answers a ready problem that people are already facing. So from what we have here on screen, we could see that technology is a tool and not the starting point. So what is the starting point? The starting point is the problem. If you have a problem, then you can walk around the problem to find a solution. And like I said, most of the solution might not be entirely sophisticated technology-based solutions. So if you understand your problem, then you can figure out what solution that will solve that problem. Now, it is your responsibility to identify a clear, specific healthcare problem that you are passionate about. Africa is um, Africa is a gold mine. Okay, it's a gold mine because it has a lot of problems, and where you have lots of problems, you have obviously a lot of solutions, especially in the healthcare system or in the healthcare sector in Africa, where I can count so many challenges with the healthcare system in Africa, starting from the infrastructural challenge down to illiteracy in terms of both on the side of the healthcare professional or on the user, on the patient side. The level of literacy is still not that high. Now come to the problem of out-of-pocket payment for patients. So, and the list goes on. These are a lot of problems that you could look in deeply and find good solutions to. Okay. Now, you have to be clear about that specific healthcare problem, and you need to understand and be passionate about it. An example here is a chronic disease or maternal health or even infectious diseases. You need to tailor it down to what specific chronic disease. Is it hypertension? What particular maternal healthcare problem are you looking at? What particular infectious diseases are you also looking at? And then the solution that you want to bring out, does it actually have a real life impact? Who is going to be affected? Who is currently affected by the problem? And how is the problem currently being solved, if at all it's even solved at all? Okay, so these are specific, clear questions you need to ask. And also, you need to make sure you understand the problem from inside out so you can, bring up a good solution, workable solution that can fly. Okay, so let's look at the next slide. You also need to define a clear problem statement. It is always advisable, even for people who are looking at, raising funds. If you want to pitch and you have a problem statement, the investors are always looking at how clear your problem statement is, and it should identify or should be able to answer three different questions. The questions are the who, the what, and the why. Your problem or your solution must always have a who, a what, and a why to the problem that you are trying to solve. Now, the who, the population or the persona that is affected by that particular problem, what specific issue or challenge are you trying to solve? and why? Does it have a broad impact or consequence if that problem is not solved? An example here is reducing medication non-adherence in urban patients with hypertension due to forgetfulness and lack of reminders. From this statement, you can see the who, the what, and the why. Now, the who here is okay, so let me just give it based on how it is written here. Reducing medication non-adherence, which is what you're trying to achieve. Now, for who is it meant for? It is meant for people in urban centers that have hypertension. And why do you need to do this? Because they forget to take their medication and because of lack of reminders. So this actually captures the three specific questions that your solution should have, as it answers the question of how do we solve the problem that you already have identified. Now, moving on, it is your responsibility as well to understand your user persona. People are definitely going to use your solution. If you build a very beautiful solution and nobody uses it, then it becomes what I term a beautiful solution on a shelf. Some time ago, I wrote an article on LinkedIn. I think that was a couple of months ago this year about digital health graveyards. Over a couple of years, I think since 2022, since the advent or the hype about AI in healthcare, we've seen the giant in the global technology space, Apple, Google, Amazon, and other, even Meta, trying to churn out digital health solution, but fail to, see profitability in these solutions that they thought would solve a particular problem in the healthcare space. The reason was not because they didn't have the money to fund such research or such solutions. The problem here is a lot of these big corporations don't really understand the nitty-gritty, the problem with healthcare. Healthcare is complex, it's very complex. If you think you are able to solve one aspect of a healthcare problem, you find out that even while trying to solve that particular problem, you see other problems that are intertwined. Okay. And for such corporations like Google, the likes of Google, Meta, Amazon, they don't have that level of patience to, try to understand why this problem is there in the first place, and so that they can rally around and get a working solution. That is not how they see their own business model. Another reason for that is because, okay, so possibly I'll talk about that later on, but let me just give a highlight on that. It is because when you build a solution, with the user in mind, okay? For us that are medical personnel or medical professionals, we have an upper hand, and we have an upper hand in the sense that we are not just medical personnel, we are also people who have lived the problems. We understand the problem, we understand how the solution can solve the problem, and we understand what the end users feel and what they want. For us or for you who will build solution for the end user or for the patient, you must have understood the journey of that patient to understand where the problems and the bottlenecks and the challenges are, and to know how your solution can fit into bridging the gaps that the patient is going through. For all the people who will be building solutions for businesses in terms of hospitals or larger organizations like insurance companies and the likes, you also will need to understand what their bottlenecks are. So these are things that a lot of these big corporations don't really understand. Now, you have the responsibility to identify your end users, be it healthcare workers, patients, or even caregivers. You should understand their environment. And Africa is unique. Yes, we are growing in terms of digital mobile adoption, mobile penetration, internet penetration, and the likes. But believe you me, there are a lot of people in Africa that still don't have access to the internet. Okay, so if you're building your solution and you're targeting a general population, I think you should have it at the back of your mind that not everybody will use your solution. So it is always advisable for you to be more specific in terms of who your target audience are. Are they digital literate? Do they have the financial capability to, get a smartphone to download your mobile application? Okay, if it's going to be run by an institution, does the institution currently have the infrastructure in terms of probably internet or computers to run your application? Okay, so these are things that you should possibly answer already while building a solution to a problem. Now, another responsibility that you have is to formulate a data-driven question. It is your responsibility to ask and to find out if your question guides everything in your project. If your question is simple, if it's focused, and also if it's measurable. An example can be, like I have here, can SMS reminder improve clinic attendance rate by at least 15%? This is simple, it is clear, it is measurable, okay? And I've seen a lot of, so I've had the opportunity to mentor some group of students last year, and they while during the mentorship program, one of the teams actually was proposing a particular healthcare solution for hospitals, but the target was too vague. Okay, and this is a problem that a lot of people make, not just students, but even people whom you think would have experience with providing solutions to customers or to clients. They tend to make this simple but yet critical mistakes of not having a clear understanding of how to simplify their data-driven question as it solves the problem that they have identified. Another example is that I've listed here is what patterns in symptom reporting predict malaria outbreak. For malaria outbreak, the symptom cannot be numbered, but you understand what the symptoms for malaria are. So if you're tracking the outbreak of malaria, you should be able to, list out certain symptoms that can actually help you identify malaria in a given community or in a given center or community, like I said. So these are very simple, straightforward, data-driven questions that every one of us should already, if not already have, or we could work on it, or work on our solutions, work on the problems that we have, and come up with something very simple, just like this. Moving on, designing the MVP solution. It is not just about having a problem statement. It's not just about making sure that the that you have a clear data-driven question, it is your responsibility as well to have at least an MVP. An MVP simply stands for minimal viable product, and it is the simplest testable version of your solution. It should describe the core tool that your solution actually works on. Is it a SMS platform or even a mobile app? Is it a web app based? It should also identify key data inputs that is required. Will it require patient record, attendant logs, and the likes? Okay, what does your MVP require to run and to give an efficient result when your end users use them? And you should plan for an iterative learning and improvement based on feedback. It's an MVP. It's not the final working document or a working solution. Every MVP should be open. I call MVPs dynamic. Okay, they are not static. It's something you can iterate and change and work on as you test it out and get valuable feedbacks from people who are using it. So you should have a working MVP. It mustn't be a full-fledged technology solution. It can be something, a simple prototype of how you think your solution should look like. Okay, and it also shouldn't be that cost intensive. Something simple, something that demonstrates what your solution looks like and how users can actually interact with that solution to solve the problem. Something very simple. That is what you have to design as your MVP. Now, the Africa Ready Litmus Test. Recently, I think last in August, I started something for a lot of startups currently in Nigeria, in Africa, and those in diaspora that are looking at, establishing or tapping into the diverse market in Africa. And it was a simple test for them to see if they are ready for Africa. And it's quite amazing how people think that they can, take a solution from the West and bring it to Africa, and we just open-handedly, take such solution and start running with them. A lot of the people who I interacted with, actually, I think a lot of them, especially those who are not Africans, actually failed the test, okay, because of number one, cultural nuances. They're not used to the cultural nuances. Secondly, they don't understand the entire market landscape of Africa. They don't understand how Africans interact with digital healthcare, and even they don't understand how Africans pay for healthcare. So there are a lot of things, a lot of challenges, be it infrastructural challenges, be it challenge with adoption and retention. There are a lot of these challenges that are bedeviling Africa in terms of healthcare. So whatever you are building, you need to understand where Africa is currently. Number one, let me give some example. One of them is understand that, like I made mention, yes, internet penetration is growing at a rapid state, but then mobile internet adoption is still lacking in a lot of communities in Africa. Now, data availability. A lot of people churn out electronic health records solution, but then forget the fact that a lot of primary healthcare facilities around us in Africa don't even have the infrastructure to run EHR. A lot of them don't have computers. They still run the manual pen and paper recording, and don't some of them don't also have the fund to equip what they currently have. So it becomes very difficult for you to uh, get ready buyers who would pay you, okay, who would use your solution for a long time and without them abandoning your solution because it's too expensive, because they don't have the infrastructure to run it. And in the end, they go back to doing things the old way. Uh, you need to understand, like I said, where Africa currently is while building your solution, okay? So that you yourself, who is building the solution, you will not become frustrated. Now, user digital literacy, it is your responsibility to tailor interfaces for low-tech users. Um, last month, while I was interacting with a couple of founders, one of them had a very wonderful solution. They are actually based in Canada, also in the UAE, and they were looking at entering the sub-Saharan African market. And they gave me a prototype of their solution, and I had to review, and it gave a honest feedback based on my review. And I told them, yes, your solution is brilliant, it's good, but I see it working well for people in the Western world. But in Africa, you are going to struggle. Number one, I understood that when they built, number one, they built the solution in the Western world, and they tested it in the Western world and thought they could ship it in Africa and have Africans use it. And I had to tell them that this, number one, it's very expensive. A lot of African countries don't have the budget for this. Even though you're not going to go through the government, if you're going through the private sector, a lot of the private healthcare facilities also don't have the budget for this. A lot of the private healthcare facilities don't have the technology that can run the solution that you are asking them to, use. Yes, it is brilliant. It's going to help them in the long run, but then there are a lot of other constraints that they are currently battling with. And another one is the solution was too tailored for the European market. It didn't have the African context or nuance that we are used to. The language was too polished or too English for the local farmer to actually understand. So these were things that I actually told them. And they told me that they were going to work on it. I think yesterday they actually sent an email. I've actually not reviewed it, so I can't tell you if they've actually worked on it. But these are things that even young entrepreneurs in Africa are also copying. As Africans, you are not supposed, especially in this age, where you understand the problems that is facing the continent. You know the problem firsthand. You are supposed to generate or come up with solution that addresses those problems. And the users should be able to interact with those solutions without having to call your attention every time they want to open an app or to assess their healthcare record. It should be easy for the local farmer for the local trader to assess. So your solution should either be in local language. These are examples. It can be in different format. But what I'm trying to drive here is it should be easily accessible. It should be understood by your local users, and it should meet their needs. Okay. Now, I think I've actually covered a lot of this. I actually wanted to talk about cultural fit, but from what I've said, I think you have an idea of what that of what that is. Now, case studies. I've actually, during the course of my talk, I believe you have heard me, sharing one or two case studies, but then let me also share others apart from what is written here. But let me read this. One of them is the failed example, a high-tech telemedicine app that required constant internet failed with rural users. Yes, this I've experienced. Okay, so in my previous engagement, I was the head of medicals and also uh, the lead pharmacist for Mobile Health International, and we deployed a lot of telehealth kiosk in rural areas. Yes, we were funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to do this. And while we were deploying, we understood a lot of things. People want to access healthcare in rural areas, but then there are no functional primary healthcare centers, no tertiary healthcare facilities in such areas. So it becomes very difficult for people to access healthcare. So what we did was to deploy telemedicine facilities to these places. Now, our company initially was an app-based telemedicine solution that required users to download an app and have them talk to doctors overseas, doctors within the country. But we noticed that people in rural areas also needed those solutions. And while we initially tried to deploy our solution there was little adoption and the retention was close to zero. Okay, until we were funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to see how we could re-engineer our solution and make it so that people in the remotest part of the country could access healthcare and access medical consultation wherever they are. So what we did was, instead of the normal app-based solution, what we did was we deployed telemedicine kiosk, a very small kiosk with computers that had cameras, that had point of care testing devices, that had internet, that also had solar power generators. So there was constant light, was connected in those places, and the people were happy. They could access healthcare whenever they wanted to, and we deployed them in primary healthcare centers that previously were non-functional. Okay, so this was how we were able to turn something that initially was failed into something that currently is still functional. Now, another success example is a USSD-based maternal health SMS alert system that increased prenatal visit adherence by 20% in Kenya, in a Kenyan county. Something similar is also being used by a startup in Nigeria called Help Mom. Help Mom is doing wonderfully well, and they are also being okay. So Help Mom, their solution currently is being used in across different states in Nigeria. I think even other African countries and Western countries are looking at their model, using their AI solution to, reach out to pregnant mothers and understand the pregnancy journey. But apart from that, low-cost access to healthcare using SMS alert is actually helping a lot of people, get easy access to healthcare. Okay, and I've forgotten the name of the company in Kenya now, but I've forgotten. They actually saw about 20% increase in prenatal visit upon their use of USSD code, especially for those in the rural area. So these are ways you can use simple context-based tech to increase adoption, retention of the solution that you are proposing. I understand that everybody who is participating in this training would have the opportunity to share or to showcase whatever that they are building. And for you to do that, you need to obviously prepare a learning showcase proposal. And how are you going to do this? We expect you to have it in this format. A 300 to 400 word written summary or a 2-minute video presentation. And the core component of your presentation should include a problem, like we actually discussed earlier. The problem should be specific on a healthcare issue that you are addressing. It should have a clear data question. What data question are you addressing or answering? And also, from what you have learned all through your period in the medicine tech learning program, what skill are you looking at using to solve the problem that you've already identified? Okay. Now, we understand that the judges expect clarity, relevance, skill application, and passion for the solution that you are proposing for the problem that you have actually identified. So from everything that I've said today, I believe that you actually have at least an idea of how you can craft your I will call it a pitch. You can craft your pitch and have a good and a clear presentation of whatever solution that you have proposed to have us see. Now, I would want to give us an opportunity to pitch whatever idea that you have in mind, and we will actually review it right here, give you a practical feedback based on the framework that I've actually shared. And we could also focus on refining the problem statement, the data question, and also the solution. And then everybody will engage, everybody will learn, and we can iterate. Before that, I would want to end here and tell us that there are a lot of key takeaways, but these are the ones that I think you could also actually benefit from. Start with a sharp, relevant problem, like I said earlier on. Understand users' realities and limitations. Use focused data question to guide solutions. You are expected to build simple, scalable MVPs and test your ideas against Africa's unique context. The next steps include refining your problem and your patient or your user persona, frame your data question clearly, prepare your proposal in preferred format, whether the word or the video format, use feedback and stay connected with challenges. So thank you so much. I believe we have actually benefited from my short talk. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Great Oyita. This was a lovely presentation. And I personally, I benefited from it. You know, when you started talking about the USSD, so the USSD paradigm, like using USSD, especially for Africa, and also noting that not every person who is in Africa actually has access to internet, as well as access to who is even literate enough to like interact with sophisticated applications. It made me go back to what I'm currently building right now. And I saw that if I could actually introduce USSD based access to this particular solution, it will actually increase the possibility of this solution becoming becoming adopted right here in Nigeria, or in any other African country. So, and that's something that I have always overlooked But after this, I'm going to go back and speak with those I'm building with and make sure that they take this serious, because it will be nice we finish building this particular solution in question, and then we roll it out and nobody uses it. Then it's actually a wasted time and effort. So thank you so much. At least that's one thing I learned from it, one key takeaway. Now I know you called on some like on people to to volunteer, one or two persons to volunteer and speak out. What is it that you are actually proposing? Now, one thing I want to tell you is this: whether it is something you are going to use for the challenge or maybe something you are actually building in person, you can actually pitch it. And there is this question that people keep asking: do I throw out my idea out there? Won't people copy my idea and make it their own? This has always been a very big question for me that actually kept me back from pitching my solutions in the time past. However, I have realized that no one can actually do what you are doing better than you. No one has the connections, the knowledge, the abilities, the network, and everything that will define your solution the way you have it. So actually speaking about your solution wouldn't make any other person copy it. And even if they dare to copy it, they cannot implement it the way you can implement it, because it has always held me back in the past from pitching my ideas. And I know that was really, really negative. So don't be afraid of pitching what you are thinking about. The more you pitch it, the more clarity you receive about it. That's just it. And the idea that someone is actually going to copy it doesn't really make sense. Let me give you an instance. So I have this idea that I'm currently building. Now, I built a website that explains everything about this particular idea like a year ago. Like I built a complete website, a prototype, an MVP, a minimum viable product. I built this and put it out there. And I've been using that to pitch ever since. I wasn't afraid that anybody's going to copy that. However, that website I've built has actually shown me clarity on how that solution could be used or the best way to build it, that now an app is almost ready for this particular solution that deviates even from what is right there on the website. So let's say someone is actually there copying what I have put out there on the website, frontiermedics.com, frontiermedics.ng, that's actually the name. Now, if someone has been there copying those ideas I put out there, that person will be very far away from what I'm actually currently building at this moment, because that was a prototype, and with it, I refined my idea. And the refined idea is now far different from what is on that website. But that was a pitch. That was an MVP I put out there. And I was pointing people that I was calling to partner with me or fund the solution. I was calling them to look at what I have in mind on the website. But the real idea was now building in private. So don't be afraid of pitching. Don't be afraid of putting out what you want to build. No one can build it better than you. No one has the connections you have to be able to do that. No one has the knowledge you have to be able to do that. They can't steal the knowledge from within you. Even though they know it, they cannot produce that same innovation the way. They are bound to fail, because it's you, the innovator, that actually can put it the right way, or can actually engineer it to be what you had in mind initially. And one more thing, building a solution is not a one-man affair. So we are going to have another talk, another webinar. So if you have looked at our, let me share this before anyone comes on. All right. So if you scroll down to the AIDLC 2025 webinar schedule, so we are here today. So we've done this, which is Saturday, October 11th, from idea to impact, framing your solution. Now, there is another webinar on the 13th, Monday 13th, says Beyond the Algorithm, a clinician's guide to building and leading a digital health team. Now, you will never be able to build a solution yourself. Building a solution as a healthcare professional, your real contribution to the team that builds this may not be building it like building the technology behind it. It might be a different thing altogether. It might be that you are the core innovator in this. It might be you are the one who is, channeling the focus of the team to the healthcare, relevance of whatever you are building. So a digital health team is made up of different companies, made up of different people. So you at the center could be the leader of the digital health team, but you may need a software engineer. That's what I'm actually talking about. You may need someone who is a cloud engineer. You may need, different set of people. You might need a cybersecurity, expert. So how do you put together the team that builds this? Because you can't build alone. However, you can be at the core as the innovator, as the founder, or as even a co-founder, but you will need to work with a team. And working with a team will actually help you to build a solution faster than building it alone. So what we have on Monday, we talk to you about how you can assemble a team that can build out what you are considering. Now, for the challenge specifically, so if you have actually gone to the course, and I'm clicking on the course, and I want to show us something about the challenge. So what Great Oyita shared is available here. Learning Showcase. So if you go to the chapter 4 of your course and click on it, you're going to see, I know that some people have not seen this. Go to chapter 4 of your course and you will see a guide on how to do your proposal. So this is your guide, your official guide to the Learning Showcase. It will tell you the goal, the task, and the submission. And then it will give you examples of submissions. So this is an example of a strong submission, proposal submission. It tells you if you are writing, this is what you're supposed to do. You will state your name, your participant email, the title of your proposal, like a data-driven approach to reducing patient no-shows. So this is a second example, a data visualization dashboard to protect high-risk mothers. Now, this is another one, AI-assisted triage products for pneumonia on chest radiographs. So this particular page gives you an example of what your proposal should look like, how you are supposed to state it. You understand? So just take, for instance, this is my submission for the AI and Data Literacy Challenge organized by Medicine Tech. In many primary healthcare centers across Africa, the accurate and timely interpretation of chest X-rays is a significant bottleneck. To address this diagnostic gap, the central question I want to propose to investigate is, can a machine learning model be trained on a labeled data set of chest X-ray images to accurately classify them either as normal or abnormal with a high degree of sensitivity? You could see the question. So if you are somehow confused, don't be confused. This particular guide in chapter 4 will guide you to actually making your proposal. It is with this proposal now that you will now state what the solution is and what the skill you have learned you're actually going to implement. However, that skill you have learned may not be the only skill needed to actually bring this to bed. And that's why I said on Monday, we are going to talk about adding the team. Like, what are the other team members you are going to bring on board to actually make this happen? Because data and AI, the algorithm or whatever you are building, is not enough for you to actually bet a digital health solution in Africa. You need a team, people who know about software engineering, data security. You need a team to assemble a team. Just like in Medicine Tech, we have a whole lot of people working together. So there is no solution that can be built just by one person. Many people want to be a jack of all trades. They want to be the innovator. They want to be the software engineer. They want to be the data person. They want to be everything. They want to be the one building the algorithm. No, you need a team. So this guide will help you to frame it and be able to make your submission. And there's one correction I want to make concerning that beautifully presented speech by Dr. Great Oyita. One of the things is that the video showcase, if you are going to use a video, like if you are going to talk live, the time is 5 minutes. It's not 2 minutes, because we've seen that 2 minutes is very short for you to be able to articulate what you want to say. We actually increase it to 5 minutes. So it's either you you submit a video or you submit a written proposal. So you can do a written proposal. If you don't want a written proposal, okay, that's it. Option 1, the written proposal. So the length is 500 words. The video proposal is up to 5 minutes. So anyhow you want to do it, do it. Now, one thing that you must know that this AI and data literacy challenge is not for teaching you how to build a solution. So it's not a digital health entrepreneurship challenge. However, now that you have gathered some AI and data literacy skills, you are now ready to actually implement it or to actually put it out there. And that's why we have, if you go to our initiatives, if you go down, you will see somewhere that is written Digital Health Entrepreneurship Challenge. So sometime towards the end of this year, we are going to run the real entrepreneurship challenge. And that's where you'll be learning how to pitch, how to raise funds, how to build your team, how to now launch your digital health solution. That is the challenge that addresses that. This particular challenge is not about teaching you how to launch a digital health solution. However, now that you have acquired some rudimentary skills with respect to AI and data, can you start using this to think of a solution you want to build? And finally, when we now run the Digital Health Entrepreneurship Challenge, can you apply all that you have learned to assemble a team, build something that is profitable? So it's like we are already like pushing you to innovate. And then finally, we want you to be able to go through a challenge of entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship has to do with your ability to turn an innovative idea into a profitable venture. No matter how good what you are thinking about is, if you're unable to build a team and make it a profitable venture, it's going to be one of those dead solutions Great Oyita talked about. And so we are trying to awaken in everyone, especially students, because we know that a great number of those who are participating in this challenge are students. So start thinking. Now that you know what deep learning is, you know what machine learning is, you know what building a dashboard is, what can you think of building with it? The problem here is that some people think of learning these data and AI skills as something that they want to become data analysts so that they can be employed by a company and they will work and be paid salary. That is far from the intent and purpose of the AI and data literacy challenge. We are not trying to turn you to a data analyst or a data scientist. Never. Because there are computer scientists who are better data analysts and who are better data scientists. We are trying to give you the rudiments that will start challenging you to be able to look into your practice, into your specialty. What is it that needs to be innovated using AI and data? How can I assemble a team to make this happen? So you must not be the one building the solution, but you may be the one who is directing the team to build something that is useful and that is scalable and that can succeed. So that is the essence of all these things we are doing. Not to make a data scientist or a data analyst so that you work for a company X and company B and then you get money, you get paid for it. Someone told me one day, why are you concentrating on data and data analysis? That there is no money in data analysis. That is the person's reasoning. He is learning data analysis because he wants to work for a company. But that shouldn't be your aim. You should be learning data analysis or data science or AI or deep learning or machine learning so that you can help to innovate your field, so that you can help change the status quo, so that you can help make your field better. If you become a consultant pediatrician, you could use deep learning to actually flag all imaging, studies that have subtle fractures in children, which are very hard to actually dictate. And if you are someone who already knows deep learning and machine learning, building such a solution wouldn't be a problem for you. But let's say you don't even know anything. How are you going to even build that solution? How are you going to make that possible? Let's say they even bring an algorithm into your department that does the same. How are you going to understand what it's doing so as to make the best use of that particular solution that has been imposed on your department? You could see now why medicine tech is teaching what is, we are not teaching you to become a data analyst so that you will go and work for company X or company Z and make money. That is not the intent. So I thank you, Great Oyita, for this presentation. And I know that the upcoming presentation is going to throw more light on this if you are actually confused. And then try and get to this page. So this page is only available to those who have started the courses. So all you need to do is to go back to the course and go to chapter 4. And then you will see examples. If you like, copy the examples, no problem. So if you like, you don't just know, copy the examples. If you don't want to copy the examples, give us your original example. Now, make it in form of a written summary, less than 500 words, or appear on a camera like this and say what you have written or what you think you want to propose. Those who use video are going to get slightly higher mark than those who use written summaries. So I hope that is very, very clear. And Dr. Oyita actually called for a volunteer, one person to mention one thing he or she is actually trying to propose. And after that, then we'll answer other questions.
Good day, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Oyita, for your great presentation. I'm Samuel, a medical student from Cameroon, and here is the idea I'm trying to work on. And I'm trying to present it following the framework he presented to us. Over 30% of patients who undergo neurosurgery end up developing pressure ulcers. And this results in increased mortality, increased length of hospital stay, and eventually increased in cost. Fortunately, pressure ulcers are preventable through low-cost nursing practices, and more so, preventing pressure ulcers can be done by addressing the predisposing factors, which vary depending on the context. So after identifying the most contributing risk factors based on existing data, we aim to create a model capable of assessing a patient's risk of developing pressure ulcers and attributing them a score that can help identify the likelihood of developing pressure ulcers and proposing a recommended action to take in order to prevent them from occurring. The MVP would be a Google form with scores that will be used to see whether nurses are able to use this tool and whether the tool is effectively able to prevent pressure ulcers or not. And then the final tool or the final model that we intend to create would be an app that would not require internet connection to be able to work, an app that would be downloaded in the phone and would not require internet connection, and nurses would be able to use it to predict the risk of pressure ulcers in various patients. That's it.
Okay. So from what you actually talked about, I can identify the problem. I can identify the possible solution. I can identify the users. I can also identify the nature of the MVP and the possible future app that you want to build. And yes, it is it fits into the African context, but then that is my own understanding about what you just said. I'm going to ask you a question based on what you said, so that I think if I tell you what I think about what you just said, I don't think you will get a lot of benefit from it, rather than the way I'm going to do it now. Okay, so I'm going to ask you specific questions, okay, based on what I talked about earlier on. If you understand the solution, if you understand the problem, can you just simply tell me what the relevant problem is? Just one sentence. Just the problem.
The occurrence of pressure ulcers in hospitalized patients who underwent a surgical procedure, specifically neurosurgery procedures.
Okay. So your problem statement normally ought to also include some level of data in it. Okay. And what you just talked about, it's, how do I put it, very vague, because other problems in the healthcare space can still come up with something similar. So how is yours different from what entrepreneur B is going to talk on bringing up a solution for EHR? Okay, so in as much as you are focusing on the problem in terms of who are the sufferers, if it's possible for you to, if it's countable, if it's possible for you to give us an idea of the number, a data that represents the number of people who are currently facing that problem, it gives us a better idea. Because, like I said, what you just talked, the statement you just made is too vague. Okay, if it's possible, if it's accountable data, I would want you to give us in terms of numbers, okay? And like I made mention, your solution actually answers a data question, okay? Because if you have a vague problem statement that can be used for any problem, your solution, when someone sees your solution in terms of a written form, they won't really know what it's solving. You get what I'm saying? And they can't really appreciate the level of solution that, or the level of progress that your solution will have when they implement your solution.
Yeah, so Great Oyita, that's exactly the issue there. I get that. Let me see if you can understand it this way also. So let's say that you actually
Okay.
pitch this to a hospital. What in these statements you made will actually make them buy it? Or are you just trying to be a researcher?
Exactly.
Do you understand? So let's say that you have said
Yeah, thank you.
exactly. So let's say that you put it this way, that 10 you say 15% of all patients admitted or that go through surgery actually end up developing pressure ulcer, and this costs an average hospital $50,000, on monthly expenditure
Annually or
annually.
monthly, exactly.
Now, my solution is this, that, and it will cut the percentage by 50% and will lead to savings of, $30,000 annually. Do you
Thank
see
you so
why
much.
a hospital would now say, is that so? Oh, if that is
Okay.
so,
Okay.
I think I'm ready to take this
Let,
solution.
let me comment. Thank you so much for what you just did there. I believe he actually understands this. Now, for every other person, your solution can either be built for an organization or institution, and also for the patient or the end user. Okay. Now, for either the institutions like your hospitals, your insurance company, and the rest, or end users, like we are just talking about, every solution that you're building should help the user save costs, save time, and you also have to let the user see the problem that they are facing, because a lot of people are facing certain problems, but since it's normal to them, they see it as okay. So you have to let them see what limitation that problem is given to them in terms of the losses that they are having in your problem statement, then propose a solution to it. Okay. I get you understand what we just talked about right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. So
All right.
let me just ask another question, if you permit.
Yeah, go ahead. Great.
Okay. Now, based on the based on the talk that I gave earlier on, I talked about the African unique context. Okay. And I heard you say for the MVP, you are going to be using a Google form or a form. And for the actual solution, it's going to be a mobile app. Yes, you talked about it not needing internet to run, but for such solutions, there should be a central collection database where the information that you are getting from different centers can be collated. So for it to be transferred to the central database, obviously you will require internet. Now, what about how do you intend? I'm just giving you an idea so that when you are factoring your solution, preparing the solution, and you should be able to answer these questions because for us as entrepreneurs, yes, you understand this. As just like our doctor also talked about the solution, the website that he's building that has obviously changed. And in my talk, I spoke about your MVP being uh, iterative. It's dynamic. It's always going to change. When you are building, you find out that even the problem or the solution to the problem that you're building would always change. It will always change until you find out that uh, uh, that solution that meets or fits the problem directly. Okay. What I'm trying to say in essence is you need to figure out how the users, be it those in the urban centers and possibly those in the rural centers who are going to use it. Yes, you are trying to help people who don't have access to the internet also use it, but then data will be collected. And for data to be collected and centralized, it needs internet access. So how do you intend to, you might not answer it here, but how do you intend to have your app get those data from different centers where your solution will be used? Because I believe your solution is great and it will be used by people, institutions in different areas with varying internet penetration and speed of internet. So I don't know how you are looking at it currently. You might not answer it here because of time, but this is something you should actually look into critically. And also, when you are looking at uh, having your final solution and pitching out to people who are going to buy it, also be mindful of the costs because some researches uh, were done. I think that was sometime in March this year about the forgotten the title of the research, but it was essentially around centered around the willingness for healthcare institutions to pay, okay, for new technology, and also the willingness for governments to pay for new technologies. And the research actually found that a lot of African healthcare institutions don't really want to pay. They are still, you know, enjoying the brick and mortar system. Yes, institutions are moving in with technology, but then it's still slow because they don't want to spend money that they say they don't have. Governments don't have enough money. If you check the budget for healthcare across African countries, you can actually see what's happening. You can when you look at what's happening in the Western countries and how much they set aside for healthcare and for research, you will see that the disparity is very clear when you put them side by side with African government and healthcare spending and that of Africa. So you should put cost at the back of your mind when building. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Great Oyita. And one last thing, Samuel. And for everyone who is listening, your solution mustn't be a stand-alone solution. That's one thing you should have it at the back of your mind. So like this particular solution Samuel is actually proposing, if you look at it critically, it may end up not being a standalone solution. So what do I mean by that? This solution Samuel is actually thinking about could actually be built and sold to an EMR company. The EMR company could actually integrate it into their EMR. And as patients' data is coming into the EMR, it is automatically flagging those patients. Do you see that? You don't need to build, you mustn't always build a standalone solution. The truth is that most patients' data will actually go to the EMR, and no one will have time to be imputing anything in an app like this. So it could be built, sold to an EMR company. The EMR company integrates it into the EMR. Even the hospital doesn't even need to pay for it. It is the EMR company now that is actually now paying you because it becomes an integral part of their company. Think of it like this. Google is actually buying up some smaller companies that do some of the things they do in a very great way and making it just a button in their entire app. So it becomes a segment of their own solution and it becomes a vital part. So there is this company I'm currently involved with called, let me not mention this. So we have been approached by a bigger company and they say that they want to buy up this particular company and make it as part of their teleradiology company. Because most companies are using their solution, but they don't have access to this particular feature which you are building. Now we can decide to build a standalone company and also help them make this become a part of their own solution. So always think in that way. So you may not even be dealing with hospitals finally. You may be dealing with an EMR company as you are the person paying for your solution. So that's about that. And you mustn't build for everybody also. So you may build specifically for tertiary institutions and let tertiary institutions use your, then maybe down the line, you can adapt a solution for the ones that are in the villages. So it should always be like that. You may not be able to satisfy every person at the same time. And that's very, very key also. So we have Edidion Moses, because now we have like 10 more minutes and we are done. Edidion, you can unmute and then ask your question.
Hello?
Yeah, Edidion, you are breaking up, but try.
Okay, please, I do want to ask a question because you said in our challenge that it will be what we are like the course that we are doing. So like my question is, if we are bringing a USSD solution, can we bring something different in a solution? Like, let's say we are like, someone learned SQL and the person is trying to bring a solution like, let's say, a USSD or a website for the challenge, or is it going to be entirely the course that we are actually learning from the site? That's what I want to confirm.
All right. So to answer that question, it could be anything, but at least there should be something that you have learned so far that will contribute to the solution. So let's say that Samuel, in this case, has learned something like understanding machine learning. Of course, to build that algorithm that automatically takes the inputs from the EMR and flag the patients who are going to have pressure ulcer, he understands how machine learning works. So that may be his contribution in building that particular solution. Do you understand? So you need to state what you have learned that could actually contribute. It may not be the only thing that will build the entire solution. Just as I told you, building a solution requires a team. And there is no how you are going to know everything that is involved in building that solution. But there should be something you have learned so far that will contribute to building that solution. And it mustn't be in your, let's say you are a pediatrician. Let me go back to that. It mustn't be in pediatrics. It could be something else you care about, but it must be healthcare. If you are a physiotherapist, it mustn't be in physiotherapy. It can be in physiotherapy, but it could be also something else that you really care about. So it's about your passion and your care for that particular stuff. And then there must have been something in AI and data that is part of that solution. And the truth is that there is almost AI and data involved in any solution you can think of these days. So even if it is not the AI and solution that builds it, maybe the AI and solution will be used inside that solution as part of that solution finally. So that's about that. I don't know whether that answers your question. So it mustn't be what you learned. Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right.
Hi, sir.
Okay, so
I have a question, sir.
is that Francis? I see another hand up.
Yes, sir. Francis, sir.
Francis, go
Good evening,
ahead.
sir.
We
Yeah,
have
I have
like
a
5
question.
minutes to go.
Okay, I have a question for the speaker. I don't know if he's still around.
Yeah, Great is still. Oh, I don't see. Great, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, good evening, sir. Thank you so much for an enlightening session. Okay, I'm just going to just ask a few questions. You talked about your project you worked with Mobile Health International last year and how you were able to raise funding from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So I wanted to ask, what were the challenges you faced, like bureaucracy? You worked with primary healthcare centers. That's one. What were the barriers you faced? And secondly, sir, since it was a grant, does that mean? And you said the government doesn't have money. So, does that mean the kiosks were voluntary, like free of charge, or who is being paid? Who is paying you for that service in the primary health care center? Thank you, sir.
Okay, so thank you, Francis, for the question. I didn't get a lot of it, but I think I have an idea of what you're trying to say. The first part you asked, you said it's actually a correction. We didn't do the project last year. We did the project in 2022. Okay, I think 2022 to 2020. No, sorry, 2020 to 2022. Okay. So it was a proof of concept that the use of technology in rural areas can actually increase the access of healthcare in primary healthcare centers across different primary healthcare centers in Nigeria. And it was actually funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Yes, there were a lot of bureaucracy from the government because we needed access to primary healthcare centers to get them to use the solutions that we were given to them. And based on it was funded by the BMGF, we the government didn't need to do a lot of heavy lifting in terms of capital because we are bringing the capital from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And on the part whether it was free, if that was the question, the last part of the question, if the services were free, obviously the cost from the grant that we got covered it for that period where it was running. So the idea finally was, it was a proof of concept to show that yes, when you bring in technology, people can actually access healthcare more. So what we did, the entire idea was, after our program or while the program is running, we will have the stakeholders, which includes the government, obviously, see the impact that technology is actually having in these rural areas and have them take over. Okay. And what we did was to have it integrated into the insurance scheme across different states where the program was running. Okay. And before we even concluded the program, we saw the positive response from the state government as they tried to, equip those facilities with more computers, more internet facilities. They supported with power, supported with other equipment that were needed to help them get to reach other people, because an example was some facilities that we are seeing less than 10 patients a day because of lack of healthcare professionals, started seeing up to 50 patients a day. Okay, so we needed more facilities, and based on the constraints that the grant already gave us, the state government had to come in and give further assistance to make sure that things run smoothly. I think that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. And in other words, that means the government actually has the money. We just need to like inform them of
Yes,
strategies they can use to improve healthcare. And if that's
yes,
what
that is
government
why that is why in healthcare we need a lot of thought leaders, okay, who can advise government on what they should spend their resources on. Because whether you like it or not, governments actually have money, okay, but then they don't know what to do to get the most efficient outcome, okay, and uh, if you understand how the healthcare ecosystem works in Africa and you are technology savvy, you know where technology can have the most effect or impact. You can advise them and let them spend in such directions. And the best way from experience, what I've noticed is if you can go through any of these big funders like the BMGF, the USA that has already been uh, stopped, and other funding agencies. If this funding agent, even big multinationals or even startups, if your solution is backed by any of this institution, government will listen when you talk to them. Okay, because I don't know how it is in Africa, but when they see a bigger organization backing your solution, they will listen. Okay, an example, current example, like I made mention during my talk, is Help Mom. Help Mom is being backed by Meta. Okay, and because of that, different states in the country in Nigeria are actually open to use their solution to tackle maternal challenge across different communities in the country. And uh, it's still the same concept. The truth of the matter is these communities or these states actually had the money, but didn't know how to use the money to better get an efficient solution that addresses healthcare challenges. You get what I'm saying, right?
Yes, I do so much. Yes, I do. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you so much, Great Oyita. Thank you for those who asked questions, Young Moses, Francis, and Samuel. Yeah, it was it was a lovely one hearing from you guys what you're building. And tomorrow we have another presentation. So let me see if I can share that. Share. So for tomorrow's presentation, where are you? Let me just go to that. Let me just remind us about this. So I'm on the website. I'm going to the challenge portal. I don't know what network is doing these days. So here it is. Tomorrow, Sunday, October 12th is this 4 p.m.? It's 6 p.m. It's actually 6 p.m. So healthcare AI in Africa. This is 6 p.m. I think, please, Fatima, remind me of this. This is 6 p.m. The speaker is actually supposed to come on air by 6 p.m. So it's supposed to join at 6 p.m., not 4 p.m. So this is it. Healthcare AI solutions in Africa, the adoption, the trends, and the real world cases. Remember, in one of the meetings I had with us, I talked to us about the real world cases. Now, when talking about the real world cases, we are not just going to list examples. The speaker is going to talk about the real technology behind them. When you understand the technology behind those things they are doing, you may be able to replicate or do something similar or even something better. So the real world cases section is somewhere you should be paying attention, to what the real world cases that are available in Africa in AI and data are, and what technology underlies what they are doing. If you understand this, you look at those companies from a different lens, not from, oh, they are doing this, they have, they have gotten this grant and their solution is in this X, Y, and Z companies. They are being used by this hospital and that hospital. But you go beyond that to understand what technology, what AI and data technology and skills underlie their solution. So that will be by 6 p.m. tomorrow, Sunday. So after your service, or if you don't go for service, once it's 6 p.m., just tune in, just come here, click this link. This link is already active. So you right click and say open in a new tab, just go to it, you join the meeting straight away. So whether we share the link in the group or not, or through email, just come here and click on the link. All the links are active. If you look at all these links, they are all active, except this one, which is the Ask Me Anything Power BI, Excel, and SQL. It will soon be activated. So thank you all that stayed. Thank you all. I'm really happy that a lot of people are already making progress. A lot of us have actually finished their courses on DataCamp, and they're already on the website doing those quizzes and going through those collab notebooks. That's really, really. The other day, I saw people for the first time, they were speaking the language of deep learning and machine learning. That's like a miracle. Like, you can't make this happen, overnight for a very great number of people all at the same time. But through the partnership with DataCamp and what the team behind Medics in Tech is doing, this has been possible. But this, I tell you, is just the beginning. There is still much more to do, and which we are going to do at the later part of this year and the other time to come next year. So as you stay tuned, if you have any problem, join our technical sections. Don't get behind. Follow others, and then we should be able to round this up in a couple of days. Thank you, and see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.